Hey there, Lodge members. Number 13 here. Now, you may not know it, but when y'all meet some secret criteria, the Grand Jackalope orders me to release a bonus episode at the end of the series. And boy oh boy did you guys meet some secret criteria this time around. Praise be to the Grand Jackalope and her mysterious and unfathomable ways. That's put me in a bit of a bind. Normally I'd just release an errata episode, but, well, I just released one at the end of the last series. While I wouldn't be so bold as to claim that I hadn't discovered any errors I've made since then, well, I certainly haven't made enough to fill a 5-minute episode. So instead you're getting this. Sometimes when you're doing research, you stumble across weird little footnotes that you just have to check out. They're usually intriguing enough that you don't feel like you've wasted your time, but maybe not something you would ordinarily build a full episode around. For instance, Baby Ruth, the world's only roller skating pony. This is one of those, so lower your expectations. Maybe don't expect this one to go anywhere. Woo! Oh, that burns. Oh, wow. All right. I'm all hopped up on eggnog and whiskey. Let's do this. Whoa. The Spirit of Capitalism Made Flesh. Presented by number 13. It all starts with Billy Watson. Watson was born into a Jewish immigrant family on New York's Lower East Side in 1867. As a 14-year-old boy, he left behind solid work as a furrier to take a job singing on stage in the Bowery. He was soon a staple of the Eastern vaudeville and burlesque circuits, performing with groups like the Ida Siddons Company and the Rent Stanley Burlesquers, specializing in ethnic characters mostly German and Jewish. The Scranton Times once praised Watson by saying, "He differs from the majority of his footlight fellows in not trying to be funny." I think they were trying to say his performances were effortless, but boy, that sure sounds like a backhanded insult, doesn't it? Anyway, he was known far and wide for putting on a show that was vulgar without being smutty, for the effortless way he tailored his act to the local standards of decency, and for a mean-spirited feud with fellow burlesquer Sliding Billy Watson, which eventually led our Billy Watson to bill himself as Original Billy Watson. The irony is that Original Billy Watson wasn't even the original Billy Watson. He had been born Isaac Levy and started out with the stage name Billy Buttons. But one night at the 6th Avenue Museum in Pittsburgh, he had to fill in for a performer who was too sick to go on. The show went so well that Levy decided to steal the name as a sort of good luck charm. That name, of course, was Billy Watson. As for Sliding Billy Watson, his claim to fame is that he would punch up his jokes with a spectacular slide across the entire stage thanks to smooth-soled shoes and a dry lubricant. He's also often incorrectly credited with inventing the gag of slipping on a banana peel. I digress. But then, seriously, this whole episode is one giant digression. Around 1899, Watson had his big breakthrough with his first production of Krausmeyer's Alley. The play tells the story of a feud between Philip Krausmeyer, a very German immigrant, and Billy Grogan, a very Irish immigrant. It's 2 acts chock full of ethnic humor, insult comedy, and slapstick. Seriously, at one point the characters apparently throw dead cats at each other across the alley that separates them. The 2 men eventually bury the hatchet when their kids fall in love and get married. And it sounds terrible. Most likely, it was terrible. So of course, it was a smash hit, one of the first burlesque shows to play on Broadway. It's easy to see why. It appeals entirely to the lowest common denominator, with ethnic jokes and slapstick, and then ends with a tacked-on moral that sends the audience home feeling temporarily enlightened for having briefly contemplated the idea that the Jews and the Irish are people too. Watson parlayed the success of Krausmeyer's Alley into ownership of the Cozy Corner Theater at Pearl and Willoughby in Brooklyn. Then he sold the Cozy Corner to Marcus Lowe, yes, that Marcus Lowe, and used the proceeds from that sale to buy his way into the big time, becoming one of the principal stakeholders in vaudeville's Empire Theater circuit. He even helped give a leg up to his brother Lou, who became the owner of the Washington Society Club in D.C. The whole time, Watson continued to tinker with the play. He altered his jokes and ad-libs to suit local tastes. He completely rewrote the second act into the crowd-pleasing Krausmeyer's Christening. He chopped it down to 1 act and teamed it with one of his other shows like In Bashful Clover or The Beautiful Venus. He tinkered with the staging, the sets, the costumes, anything to keep the play fresh. I'm sure if he had time, he would have found a way to send Krausmeyer to Hawaii, only to fall prey to a cursed tiki necklace. In 1909, he decided to tinker with his chorus girls. Now, Krausmeyer's Alley had always had chorus girls. Most burlesque shows did. They would dance and sing between acts and scene changes, prance around in the background, give the audience something to ogle, and get pinched or paddled by the actors to help cover up mistakes. I should make it clear that this was when burlesque shows were actual variety shows, not girly shows. So there was There's nothing sexy going on, just good old-fashioned sexual harassment. Now, Billy Watson liked his chorus girls well-fed, voluptuous, statuesque, Amazonian, thick, however you want to say it. This in itself wasn't unusual. In the late 19th century, that body type was de rigueur. Everybody in America liked a woman with an itty-bitty waist and a round thing in your face. It was only when the gay 90s were in the rearview mirror that public taste started to shift towards thinner women. By 1909, the day of the larger woman was clearly in the past. Watson decided to make a nostalgia play and get down with the thickness. Each of his new chorus girls had to weigh at least 180 pounds, with some of them topping the scales at 200 pounds or more. They also had to be bosomy and leggy. He even dressed them in horizontal stripes to accentuate their size. And to cap it off, he rebranded his American burlesquers with a new name taken from Upton Sinclair, the Beef Trust. Yeah. The Beef Trust Beauties made their debut in 1909. The press made light of the concept, calling the chorus line a thundering herd of bovine burlesque beauties who represented the tapped variety of femininity. Watson went on the defensive. People get the idea that just because a gal tops 200, she's fat and nothing else. But she can still be big and beautiful. Why, I dare anybody to say my girls aren't petite, and besides, they can do some routines better than little girls can. One review noted, some older stages than the Empire's would be in danger of collapsing under the terrific strain when these human pachyderms dance. Rumors that the stage had to be reinforced to withstand the stress of 500 pounds of avoirdupois were flatly denied, though the ironically named Scranton Truth claimed that men in the underground workings of the city were kept on the rush, putting up additional timber to ensure safety when the Trust was en route to the theater. Unsurprisingly, the Beef Trust was a draw. It managed to appeal to both the older audience members, nostalgic for the body type of their youth, and the finicky fetishists who were quickly becoming burlesque's primary audience. He also marketed it to the curious with gimmicks, offering $1 nights with the Beef Trust Beauties and claiming he'd award a $10 gold certificate to anyone who could guess the Trust's combined weight. As the years went on, the Beef Trust became a bigger part of the show, even eclipsing Krausmeyer's Alley in popularity. The chorus grew bigger, swelling to over 30 girls, some of them weighing up to 250 pounds. Of course, nothing lasts forever. When the Beef Trust seemed to have run its course in the late 1920s, Watson briefly replaced them with the Chicken Trust of near-anorexic girls. That didn't have nearly the same appeal, and soon the Beef Trust Beauties were back, playing to shrinking audiences. Watson eventually made enough money from Krausmeyer's Alley to branch out into real estate and retire. Every once in a while he'd feel the call of the footlights and stage a comeback, but for the most part he was happy to license out his name and show to others and enjoy the royalties. Well, except for the ones his manager stole from him. In 1945 he died in his sleep at his home on the shores of Lake Como. Lake Como, New Jersey, that is. And when I say died in his sleep, it's less natural causes and more suffocated to death because of a gas leak. Hey, they can't all be happy endings. Krausmeyer's Alley remained an entertainment industry staple for almost 50 years. In 1934 it was even turned into a radio show, Krausmeyer and Cullen, but it only lasted a few episodes. When the burlesque circuit started to die, well, that was the end of the road for the show. Like most burlesque farces, it didn't actually have anything resembling a real script, so Krausmeyer's Alley became lost to history. But in many important ways, its spirit lives on, in every pandering, uninspired sitcom and Hollywood movie churned out. Krausmeyer's legacy is 120 years of Bridget Loves Bernie and Meet the Fockers. What a proud papa it must be. The phrase Beef Trust became an insider industry term for a chorus of large girls. The Beef Trust Beauties themselves largely disappeared from show business. The name was given a second run as part of the 1960s vaudeville revival that also gave us Gypsy and Funny Girl. The new Beef Trust Beauties didn't last long, but they did manage to make it onto a Barbra Streisand TV special, The Belle of 14th Street, in 1967. And honestly, being on stage with Barbara, isn't that all any of us could ask for? So that's it. A bunch of stuff that happened. Oh, you want a connection? Well, Lake Como is in Monmouth County, New Jersey. That's where Seasons 4's Pleading from Asbury Park is set. There's no other overlap between the stories at all, though. Weak sauce, I know. Sources consulted for this episode include Frank Cullen's Vaudeville Old and New and Bernard Sobel's A Pictorial History of Burlesque. And now, a preview of Series 6. It's going to be a fun one. Just to give you a brief taste of what you can expect, here are some of the resources we consulted while researching these episodes. American Demagogues, American Eccentrics, The Chocolate Chronicles, Duet and Diamonds, Fads and Fallacies in the Name of Science, Haunted New Jersey, Mystics and Messiahs, Peacocks on Parade. The Ancient and Esoteric Order of the Jackalope podcast will return on December 28th with an episode we're calling The Terror of Gilligan Country. Until then, have some happy holidays, and remember, Quid minime sciunt, optime scire. This episode was produced by David White for the Ancient and Esoteric Order of the Jackalope, and is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. All rights reserved, all wrongs reversed. Follow us on social media at orderjackalope.com on Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. And really, we're absolutely serious about this. If you'd like to join our little, I don't want to say it's a cult, secret society. It's a secret society. If you want to join our secret society, drop a line to jackalope@orderofthejackalope.com. That's Order of the Jackalope with hyphens between the words because, the regular version was taken. We are always looking for new folks to come and tell us a story, which we haven't heard. So, see you all in 2 weeks. Oh man, that's good eggnog. Real eggy. What do you think, Cricket? Is it good eggnog? Yeah, you know, you're just